happening, everyone? This is Ashley Schuler with the Systems Lab Live. I'm very excited to be with you all here tonight. Apologies for the lateness. I am doing a few things where I am, we just running a little bit behind, but that's okay. I'm glad that we're here tonight to talk first and foremost about this particular set of new live stream topics. Okay. For those of you that are joining in for the first time, you guys are seeing something new. Well, you guys probably wouldn't even know if it was new. Those of you that are repeats that are part of the Systems Live crew, we got some new lower thirds. Okay. I designed this myself with an app called Easel. Okay. Systems Lab Live with Ashley Schuler. Come on. I love it. I love to see it. So what we're doing here today, Systems Lab Live, is all about how we lead and manage projects efficiently, team operations, and how we are effectively using our technology to leverage processes. Man. Systems Lab Live is a dynamic live show on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. There will be a show change in schedule starting in September in just a couple weeks, but we'll give more deets on that when the time comes. But we're in a series right now. Taylor's in the building. We're in a series right now called Everyday Work. So this has been a series that we've been doing all summer long, really talking about how we go about our work, our time, our tasks, how are we managing our time, and how we are effectively leading and managing projects. What's happening, Carmen? So dynamic in what you're doing. And so what's cool about everyday work is that we're talking about the things that normal folks aren't really talking about on an everyday basis. A lot of times you're hearing a lot of things about technology tools that you should use, which is cool. You are seeing tutorials on things, but here's where we get to really talk about what we're doing every single day, the ins and the outs of task management, managing projects, managing and leading teams, how we're managing our time, how we're developing processes. And so in the first session of Everyday Work, we talked about communication, right? There was a 7-part series on communication. We talked about how we're communicating with ourselves. We're talking about how we're communicating with others. We talked about async communication, remote work, using ClickUp to help us communicate better. And so that was super fantastic. Everyday Work session 2 got into more of road mapping, goal setting, all those types of things. That's what the Everyday Work series on that session, on that second piece, was about as well. So we did projects, aligning projects with your goals, road mapping, and then now we're in session 3 where we're talking about how do we get stuff done. And I'm excited because we're now talking about personal knowledge management, and we talked about that last week. And we also, the week before, we talked about the difference between project management and task management. The next set of live streams in this particular session, we're going to be talking about note-taking, meeting management, and organizing ourselves and the information that we take in. And so how many of us are good note takers? I need y'all to make sure you put in the chat, are you a good note taker? Yes or no? Are you a good note taker? Please put that in the comments. I will tell you this quick story. Okay, this really, really quick story is that I, Ashley Schuler, am very good at taking notes. And I'll tell you why. I had a role and I had a position where everything that I did in terms of this position was all about taking notes. That's it. I was on a government contractor. I went in. We had these meetings that we had to facilitate, and we took notes while the government officials they were the SMEs. So they sort of took care of all the SME stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so we were responsible for creating agendas and producing meeting minutes. Literally. Literally, literally. So one thing that was really good about that is that there was an appreciation for the details. Appreciation for the details. Taylor says, I'm not good at taking notes. I have to record or just scribble, then go back and organize my notes. That's so good. That is so good. I think that's many of us, right? That's many of us, right? We are scribbling notes and we don't really know what to use that information for oftentimes. It depends. Oftentimes we're told to take notes and we're told to, you better take these notes because you're going to need this information. Well, I have a little bit of theory on that because oftentimes, unless it's something that I'm really invested in, I'm not always taking notes. And I think we get mixed up with what we need to listen to versus what we need to write down, and having the context of understanding why we're writing down what we're writing down. So I have this theory, and this is just the Ashley theory, and I talked about this last week, but I want to bring this up again because I think it's really important that we understand these few points about information. Because there's three things that I believe that we do with information. So we do things like hoard it, like we literally consume it and then we don't do anything with it. And we have to stop doing that, and we have to move towards doing two things: delegating that information, meaning passing that on to somebody else so that they can actually take action on it. And then the second thing, which is a little bit similar to what I just said, but it is capturing, organizing, and storing information in such a way where you can take action on that information. That could be a course, that could be a webinar, that could be an article that you're reading. And for these last several months, I've been very much obsessed with, what am I consuming? Why am I consuming it? And how do I go about organizing my information? So over the next few weeks, you are definitely going to see me on YouTube with doing a show and tell with Ask Ash. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to build out for my new note-taking system. I want to show it to you all because, hey, I feel like we all need to share. At this point, we all need to share. I think I should be taking notes on this. Right. You should feel like you should be taking notes on this. I love that. For the first segment of the show, we usually have, we're talking about show and tell with Ask Ash. I do want to talk about low code, no code tools, but I may just leave that to another time because we're a little bit, in OT about getting into the show anyway. So we will be talking about the fascination of low code tools like Airtable and Notion and some other tools like Zoho Creator and Google Apps. And we're going to talk a little bit about why no code tools or low code tools are super, they're basically an investment in the future. They're not anything that is a fad or anything like that. No code tools like Airtable and Notion are really here to stay. And so just really briefly, I want to just share with you the definition of low code. Low code tools and platforms are straightforward as they sound. The amount of coding and knowledge required for people to use them is low compared to traditional software development. Okay. Why are people using low code tools? Because we are literally living in a day and age where buying software and saying, this is not enough. We have customized services, customized solutions that we're dealing with, customized communities, things that we're building. There are too many nuances that are out there, right? Too many. too many nuances, too many customized things that are going on, that we need our technology to fit what we're doing. So we'll talk more about low code later on, and we're just going to get straight into note taking 101. Okay? Note taking number 1. Excuse me, 101, I mean. Okay. So what is note taking? I want to kind of go into the basics of that. I think I'm really big on definitions. I think it's very important that we get the definition of note taking out. So note taking is the act or process of taking notes. Note taking is a part of personal knowledge management. So we talked a bit about that last week. What is knowledge management and how do you start to build a knowledge management base? Check out that live stream on my YouTube channel. The link is in the bio if you are not already subscribed. And it's called Systems Lab Live. Just go ahead, go there, type it in there, or go into the link into the bio and subscribe. And all the videos are there. So go in and subscribe. So personal knowledge management is the practice of capturing the ideas, insights we encounter in our daily life, whether it's from personal experience, from books to articles, from our work, and cultivating them over time to produce more creative and high quality work. That is what personal knowledge management is. And so a huge part of that is note taking. It's the information that we are consuming. And as I said a few minutes ago, we are consuming too much information, whether it is Slack notifications, text messages, TV, what else? Meetings that we're in, webinars, podcasts, reading a couple books at a time. Hello, that's me. I'm reading about like 2 to 3 books. We have a lot of information. Does it actually make sense that we are consuming all this information? And then what do you do with it? I even had to say to myself, because I'm gonna be honest, like I did a lot last night in even just like building out and researching information. Like I did a lot. Like I was in ClickUp and I was building out an issue log because I've been wanting to build that out. So I had some time to do that. I spent some time researching how I was going to put together my note taking thing. And I was literally in a mode of like, I got to get it. I got to get it. I got to get it. And I was like, Ashley, why are you rushing yourself in terms of creating this thing? Just so that you can say that you did it? Does that even make any sense? I don't think so. So you got to be careful about understanding and checking the motives of like why you need to do it. You know what I'm saying? Now that I have some really good training under my belt, like I watched a whole bunch of videos and I read a whole bunch of articles, like now I feel like I can build it out. But I have to remember, especially when I am reading and learning information, you are not in a race, number one. And I have to go back to documenting my notes so that I know, so I can take my time with understanding what I'm learning. I have to go back to doing that. What's up, Mark? Good to see you. I have to do that. So even like, let's take for instance, right now, I'm reading Call to Create by Jordan Rayner, which is talking about essentially entrepreneurship and really as God has created us as creators. He made us to create. We're reading about from a biblical perspective, what has God placed inside of us that he wants to create? It's a great book. All right, reading that. I downloaded and bought an ebook from Jonathan Jones on podcasting. Okay. And then I'm reading Second Brain by I believe his name is Tiago Forte. Hello. And then I'm also reading too Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. You know, it's just there's a lot of things we're reading, right? And so I said to myself, you need to get yourself better organized in your note taking in what you're reading. And so that's what I'm going to do. And listen, the beauty part in all of this that I already have a little reading note taking system anyway. I have a template set up. I just need to sit down and to do it. Okay. And I need not to be whatever about like how I need to do it and when I need to do it. Like I have a pretty good schedule. So, I just need to be able to read diligently and take the notes accordingly, right? And so I'm going to figure out my system of how I want to go about taking these types of notes. Another point I want to make: we hoard information in our heads, and it needs to be in a system. We have a lot of information, and for me, I even started doing this when I'm studying NFTs and the metaverse and project management. I started writing down things that I was learning, and so now I have to get back into the practice of taking informed notes that can also be shareable to others, right? You know what I mean? Another point I want to make as well: note taking is something that we were not taught in school. We were told to just take notes and to take notes on everything. I took notes on everything. Everything that sounded important, I took notes on. How many of y'all felt that way? Okay? That you took notes just because you felt it was important. We took notes because we were told to, and we were going to be tested on that information. Real talk. Real talk. Like we did. I did that. So as adults, if you worked in the corporate environment, you went to meetings, and we're gonna specifically have a really good live stream on meeting management, how to create dynamic meetings, and how to get actionable items out of meetings that everyone can understand what they need to do next. We're going to do that. It's going to be great. And so, in terms of the note taking, as I just said, I'm reading Build a Second Brain. It's really helping me to shape the areas that I am concentrating on in my personal life. So I got areas such as metaverse and NFTs. That's going to be one area that I'm going to be taking notes on. And in fact, I have the notes, I have articles and things like that. And so now I need to shape these concepts that I'm learning about in such a way that it makes sense. Makes sense to me, but then it also makes sense where I could share that information out. What's another area? Personal development. So that's been huge. I want to study the disc more. I want to do more personal and professional development notes, things where I can connect insights. So that's another area. I definitely want to, again, my reading notes. I got to take more time to be a little bit more diligent about what I exactly am retaining so I can go back and reference notes. I got to do better on that aspect. Got to do better on that. So here's the question, folks. What should you take notes on? I'm so glad that you asked that. Number one is that you should be taking notes on ideas, on seminars and notes, workshops, meetings, courses, podcasts, articles. Frankly, anything and also your study time too. Frankly, in any area where you would like to capture an idea, where you're learning something new, where you're studying your craft, where you receive a piece of information that you say that's going to be helpful, you want to capture that information. You want to capture that information and put it in some type of system where you can go back and reference and be able to take action on. And so that's the reframing that I think that we have to do when it comes to note taking, is that we really have to get a really good understanding about, number one, why are we taking notes? Number 2, what area does these notes, what are they going to actually like benefit? Like what's the direct connection and what area are these notes going to help me in? Number 2, how do I make the notes actionable? Like how am I going to actually be able to take action from these notes? Super important. Super important for us to explore what this is. So, I definitely want to talk a bit about some of these best practices in taking notes. These best practices, all right? So, I want you to put in the chat before we go on to this segment. I want you to put into the chat, tell me, what is it about your note-taking process that you like or that you don't like? That's number 1. And number 2, tell me what types of notes that do you take? What types of notes do you currently take right now? Very good. Very good. Put that in the comments. Absolutely. Put that in the comments. All right. So, best practices in note taking. Best practices. Number 1, you should decide what areas you should take notes on. Okay. So, I think that's a really good step. What am I going to take a note on? What are those particular areas? And we're talking about, areas of your life, right? So we talk about this aspect of personal development. You may even want to get a little bit deeper. You may even want to say leadership development in the areas of communication. You may want to definitely go maybe more into the DISC assessment, maybe how you lead. You know what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense. You may want to talk about human capital, talent, time management. All these things, right, that deal with personal development. Here's a great example of why I'm reading Atlas of the Heart. I'm going to tell you reason why. Did a little DISC assessment, values with Aisha Thomas, leadership development consultant extraordinaire, works with teams, works with leaders, helping them to become the best that they can be in leading in a dynamic space. She does diversity, equity, and inclusion, all this great stuff. So we did a values assessment, and one of the areas that came up was that my empathy was a little low, right? Wasn't like I don't have any empathy, but in the leadership space, because I'm task oriented, because my mind is of the building of processes and systems, okay? Because of that, I might have a tendency where the people factor is a little low. Low. Okay. And so because of that, I have to up the empathy meter a bit. I got to get in tune with people and tasks and assignments, and if they're okay with it. And I'll give you a prime example of how that showed up. So I was in a team meeting the other day, and we were talking about rearranging the structure of our meeting about the meeting, which is still okay as long as it's effective, but we'll talk about that in another week or so. But for real, there's a question that popped up on who should get which role. Okay. And I love this because there was the piece about empathy that popped into my mind, because I'm thinking split things up, everybody take what they need to take, but you got to look at what is the task that could actually fit that person. And maybe the particular task or that assignment is not going to fit that particular person. You got to think about some of these things. I can't just solely think about, being mission driven, right? And being process driven and being so focused on it got to get done. You got to do your role, you got to do your part, and that's it. So for me, that empathy piece is crucial because I had to tap into that. I had to tap into that person and be able to I just identify, right? Not sitting, it's not taking on their feelings, but it's listening and taking a step back to see their perspective. I was like, okay, cool. Okay, cool. So in the things that I'm reading in Atlas of the Heart, I'm saying to myself, your girl got to go back and take some notes. I got to go back. I got to build out my template for that in Notion, and I got to take tangible notes so I can go back and refer to these notes so that I can take action on them. And so I think it's so important, again, when we're talking about note taking, and this is why the segment is called "Help, My Notes Are a Mess," because we're taking notes everywhere. We don't know why we're taking notes. They're in Apple Notes, they're in the Android Notes, they're in Evernote. You know what I'm saying? I have an app right now called Command, which is a super cool app, by the way. But now that I'm going to set up my note-taking system in the way that it will be set up, now what's going to happen is that I'm going to take all of that information, and there are literally ideas. There are ideas of things that I need to take action on, but I need to be able to put them into this new note-taking system that I'm going to build out. And therefore, I'm going to be able to filter out what is urgent, what's low priority, what's high priority, and I'll be able to define that by transferring those notes, and then also creating a template that basically has what the idea is. This is how I'm going to set it up. It's what the idea is. It's going to be actionable steps. And it's also going to ask the question, what else do you need? So let's actually tease this out a bit, shall we? Let me go and open up Whimsical right quick, because I think we need to visualize that just a bit. And we're going to do more of that on Wednesday as well. We're going to talk about the workflow for that. Let me do the systems lab. Bloop. Come through systems lab. I'm going to open this up just for a minute. But I want to tell you what I want to do for the idea one right quick. Let me show y'all really quickly. And we're going to get into probably tomorrow as well. I believe we're going to talk about conferences and how to take conference notes. We'll talk about that tomorrow as well. Not tomorrow, Wednesday. That's a fire. That's going to be a fire one. Okay. Share. So y'all can know what I'm talking about. I want to make sure we make it make sense right here. This is August 22nd. Note-taking example demo. Okay. Let's go down right here. So, and again, I'm actually, this is how I am going to start processing ideas that I have. I have an idea, okay? And in this idea, I'm going to have a category for the idea. And that category is listen, this is everything from hold on. I'm going to put the categories are everything from their categories are everything from podcasting to YouTube Live to LinkedIn. What else do I have? I'm looking right now on here we go. I'm looking right now on my other little handy dandy chart right here. This is going to be internal processes. Yeah, and I'm just making my categories based upon like leadership, personal, dev. I'm going to say metaverse, NFTs. What else? I'm just looking at a couple of things. I think that's it. Is that business development? I think this is it. So, I'm going to make sure, now I want to make sure that again, this is actionable, right? In terms of the category, I just want to make sure that I start to put a category. Okay, so if I get an idea in my head, like I have several ideas, like for podcasting, like for my new YouTube season. What's up, Jason Mitchell? So for it's Nicole, Fempreneur Online, virtual event extraordinaire. When we're talking about categorizing your notes, I have ideas in my head, and I usually rarely forget like what I'm thinking about, because especially if it's a project that I'm about to start. So if I have lots of ideas in my head, I need to start categorizing that information. So if I have a thing about an upcoming podcast season, my note-taking system will allow me to open that note and just start writing down that information. You have the idea, I'm going to categorize it, and next I'm going to outline in detail, like describe what the idea is. And then the next thing after that is going to be next steps, because it really needs to move into some sort of project or some sort of actionable step that's going on. What's up, Deborah Jones? What's going on? Good to see you. So good to see you. So once we do the category, we describe. I want to describe the idea. And then this is going to be the question. It's going to be, what are the next steps? And then really, I'm going to ask that question. Does this need to be implemented now or in the next 30, 60, or 90 days? Okay. And I'm also going to ask the question too, what resources do I need? I think that's an important part of when you are doing your ideation. If you're someone like me, I do have a lot of different types of ideas. But I also know too that not every idea we should be capitalizing on, or we need to be actively pursuing. It has to make sense, especially when it is in alignment with your goals. And I probably will write that down as well. I'll probably put that into my this little chart right here. Is asking the question, maybe it's just asking the question, right? Ask the question, does this idea align with my current goals? And I probably have to figure that out of how to like put a status of some sort and categorize it, do something like that. But I think this is really important because we could be actively pursuing things that are not aligned within our goals. And I think being able to put that idea out there, write it down, take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however you need to, and be able to write it down. Now, okay. Now Deborah asked a really good question, y'all. What tool are you using to take notes? We are just in the beginning stages of this, Deborah. So what I'm using right now in terms of taking notes, it is Notion. That is the tool of choice right now to use. Now, what am I going to do with the hundreds of notes that I have in my Apple Notes? Lo and behold, they're just random scraggly things. So I don't think I have to do anything with them. But I was just talking about me building out a new note-taking kind of system because I've been thinking a lot lately. How do I go about capturing all of the information that I consume? And that might lead to me evaluating, am I consuming too much? I believe I need to do a little bit better with like the things I'm reading and being able to like pull from, some of the different points and documenting what that is. But there's oftentimes research that's being done, and I need to find a way to capture it, organize it, and distill it or express it like the build as a second brain says. But essentially, what I'm looking to do is capture the information, categorize it in a way, and document it so that I know what I'm going to use it for and when I'm going to use that information. And I think that's hard to I think that's harder to sometimes identify. Like, when would I use this information? And that kind of gets into, do you need to be a part of every single webinar or every single call? We're inundated with virtual this, go to workshop that. You got to be super, super careful of that. And that's what we'll definitely be talking about, how to take conference notes in Wednesday session. But Deborah says, okay, I plan to use Miro. I am doing goals for 2023. My notes are driving me crazy, so I need to organize it. It should help me keep more organized. You know what I like about Miro is the fact that they have a lot of tools to really help you become organized. I actually like Miro a lot. I think they're really good at taking everything and actually being able to like whiteboard it out, right? And so I think that's really good. What's going on, AD? So that's what I'm talking about here, just in terms of note taking and why we need to do a really good job in 2022 and beyond about the information that we're taking in, why we're taking that information in, and then what we're going to do to create action from that. And I think that's, all of this is really a more personalized experience. I know there's many different types of, experts and things like that, but I think if you take from different elements, you can work it out. So we talked about best practices in the note taking. One is deciding what areas that you should take notes on. Secondly, choose a single app. So I think if you are doing, Deborah, for the purposes of, I need to do some visioning, I need to do some goal setting, I need to do some road mapping, Miro is a great tool for that. I like that a lot. Create a format to take notes in. So I think the format is definitely going to matter. And we're seeing a little bit of this right here in the Whimsical app, but decide what the purpose is. Okay. Connect it to an area, whether it's an idea, an active project, or a specific task that you're working on. If you are in a conference of some sort, you'll want to note who the speaker is. You'll want to note the date, 3 to 5 main points, next steps, and questions to ask. Okay? So that is very important to note as well. I'll go over them one more time. When we're talking about the best practices in note taking, you want to decide what areas that you should take notes on. Choose one single app. and then choose a format. Now, this is just examples of the format. You do not have to actually do it this way, but I want to give an example. Is if you were at a conference, you would have a conference like a sheet of paper, whether it's, I'm talking for digital purposes, where you're putting the purpose of the workshop or purpose of the topic, the connection area. So what is it connected to? The project, the task, the idea. You got a speaker that you are listening to. Who is the speaker? What's their social media handle? The date, when did this happen? 3 to 5 main points. Next steps in terms of how are you going to apply this information? And then questions that you want to ask, either for yourself or for the actual speaker or panel. And that, my friends, is, I believe, really effective note taking, especially when it comes to the aspect of learning. We just showed you, when it comes to the ideation part, those, the format for that. You want to title your idea, you want to categorize it, then you want to have a description for your idea. You want to have a connection area, which I just said, that category piece. Then you want to outline these 4 questions. Does this align with my current goals? What resources do I need? What are my next steps? And does this need to be implemented now, in the next 30 days, or 60 to 90 days? Because that, my friends, will help you with how urgent this is. How urgent this is. All right, y'all. This has been good. A little note-taking 101 discussion. I think this has been good. I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. I just wanted to give an introduction to the note-taking so that we could have a really good understanding about what the note-taking process is, why that is critical to your personal knowledge management, but also to this. I also want to highlight this as well, because if you are working on client projects, if you're working with your team, if you're, working on other types of projects inside of your business, this aspect of taking notes and documentation is critical to the background and the history of your company and your brand. You need it. So creating templates for client meetings, definitely do that, especially if you have retainer clients, if you're doing whatever, if you're doing VIP days, what have you, have a way to have some notes. If you do group coaching, not that you are responsible for people knowing how to take notes, but for sure, that's definitely an area where you may want to suggest, how people should be able to, consume that information, right? And you want to, on the speaker side, you want to outline and help them, guide them through what that process is for them to take those key points. There's nothing worse, because I've been there myself. That's why I worked really hard on these presentations to make sure it's all clear, than sitting in front of somebody and it's all haphazard and you haven't led that person to the well, so to speak, from cradle to grave. You haven't led them anywhere because your stuff is all over the place. So as speakers and presenters, helping people along the way in terms of the information and how it's going to be structured, that's going to be key. Absolutely. What's going on? It's your girl, Synth. What's going on, girl? My notes are important to gather my thoughts. I'm telling you what. Like, let's not be, try to go over and say like our notes in our mind, like that's our last thing. No, organize what's in your mind. Don't hoard it. That's what I read from the Build a Second Brain book, is that there's a quote that said your ideas are not meant to be hoarded. They're meant to be documented. They're meant to be put out there. And that's really important. That's very, very, very important. And so note taking, it's a skill. It's something that's needed. And yeah, this is good. All right, y'all. This has been real. We'll be back Wednesday. We'll be back Wednesday to talk about more about note taking, how to GSD. We're going to be talking a bit more about note taking and creating a system for taking notes for conferences and workshops, specifically talking about conferences and workshops. The following week, we'll be talking about what does it mean to create a meaningful meeting. And then we'll also be talking about how to take good meeting notes. We'll talk about that as well. Then we'll talk more and go back into more of the personal knowledge management side. We'll talk about reading notes and things like that. And then we'll talk, and we'll actually probably by that time be able to preview my own personal note-taking system. So we have a lot in store for you all. Fall is coming up as well. And what's up, Mason? And that means that I know some of you all, in terms of the systems that you have going on, especially those that are using ClickUp, that are looking to use ClickUp. There are VIP days that are available for the fall. This is a Super Bowl of systems. This is right around the time when you might be winding down, or some people are winding up, depending on where you are. And there are open VIP day spots for you all if you are interested in that. Would love to be able to talk to y'all and be able to help you in that way of setting up your particular system inside of ClickUp. So that's you can text VIP to 626-722-5444, and that's where you can talk with me about the VIP day and see if that's the right fit or not. And then you can also learn more about it at ashleyschuler.com/VIP-day. And we can talk there as well. You can send me an email. You can also book a call. And then we can talk further about how ClickUp is a great tool to streamline your business. We've heard it before, folks, and I like to say it again. It is 2022, and you cannot effectively manage projects using a pen and using paper. Okay, I stand by that. I stand by that. I think that you can use pen and paper to write, simple tasks and things. But it is 2022, and you have to move to some sort of technology tool that can help you with managing tasks on a daily basis. Now, I have to redo a live stream. I probably have to do a third live stream sometime in the next couple of weeks on task management, because something was wrong with my volume on YouTube and it didn't record. So we're going to go through task management 101, and I'm going to go through the whole demo of using Todoist, which is really the most simplest task management tool I've come across. And so you'll definitely want to hop on that live so you can ask me questions about tasks and how you could manage projects with that. And these are really for personal projects. It's not for and you can use ClickUp for personal projects, but that's a true project management tool. Anyway, that's it. I thank you for listening. I thank you for being such great community members. Make sure you share this live with 3 people that need to know that note-taking is an art. It's necessary, and that you need to get your notes in order. Okay? We want to make sure that we are getting our notes in order. Thank you guys so much. And we're out. And I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.